Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Ryan, and today I'm joined by
Nerdarchy Steve,
Ted,
Nate the Nerdarch.
And yo dog, I heard you like monsters, so I took a monster and I put it inside a monster.
Hey guys, jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with us.
Right, Monster BFF, we're bringing it back.
Woot! So this time we have something pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'd say so.
The animated armor found on page 19 of your trusty monster manual, and this time we're gonna stick something inside it.
Oh no! So this is a family show.
So this encounter really is kind of about effing with your players, and it's the idea of giving them a monster to fight.
A monster within a monster.
Well, you're going to do that, but up front they're not necessarily going to know that. All they're going to know is they're fighting the suit of armor. You know, what is it? Is it undead? Is it a construct? And then all of a sudden it starts blasting them with magical abilities to boot.
Yeah.
So we're gonna stick for this purpose we're gonna put a fairy dragon
maybe two
inside, and that's on page 133 of your monster manual.
So apparently fairy dragons do not wear boots; they wear suits of animated armor.
That's right. So we have a monsterception happening at this point when we put animated armor is it has the trait of being what is it, false appearance, right? The false appearance
yes.
trait.
While this armor remains motionless, it is indistinguishable from a normal suit of armor.
So it's just sitting there, and eventually a fairy dragon or two could hit it with its breath weapon that can cause a variety of effects. They have a bunch of once per day spells that they can cast as well. And I would say you could put one of the three of these fairy dragons in there because they are tiny. It depends on the challenge you want to present to your party, but it's a pretty solid challenge to a low level party with just having one fairy dragon and one suit of armor. But with the recharge ability, that with the breath weapon, rotating more out, you get to use those abilities more frequently, and they have complete cover from everything. So as far as saving throws go, taking damage, your fairy dragon is good to go.
So I kind of have this idea, right? What if there's an old structure? It's kind of fallen apart. It's been in a place for a very long time. It's been forgotten.
In the realms.
In the realms. So in there is some suits of armor. Well, perhaps a colony of fairy dragons has taken up residence, and they've been lived there so long. The animated armor has actually been animated by the ambient magic coming off of the fairy dragons. Right? It could even be more than one generation, and they've basically built nests inside of the armor. And that's why, from them living and sleeping inside the armor, that's why they've become animated. And also why, the armor kind of disregards the fairy dragons, because it almost sees, the fairy dragons almost like an extension of them. It's almost like clownfish and a sea anemone.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you could do that, or it could just be some sort of fey shrine or crypt or something like that, where because of fey nature of a fairy dragon too, that it's just well, this is one of the blood of this sanctum sort of thing.
So so the fun thing with this is, one, the suits of armor are just going to animate and start attacking the party.
Intruders, which is the party.
And they're going to just perceive. They're going to perceive the threat as being the armor.
Right.
And then the first weird thing that the players are probably going to get keyed in on is the fact that the armors are actually taking more than one action around.
Yeah, especially at low levels, you're not doing things that have legendary actions. So if you have, all right, let's just say we've got one armor and one dragon inside. The monsters are gonna typically have different initiatives unless you happen to roll weird. So it's in between player A and player B, the armor goes again and produces an effect. They're gonna be thrown for a loop because not only does the armor not normally have that capability, but why is it acting out of turn?
One of the things about animated armor for a low-level monster is they have a very high armor class.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The thing about the fairy dragons, they're
it's a 15 AC, right?
They've got a glass jaw, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have very many hit points, but they have a bunch of spell-like abilities. And what does an old fairy dragon? What are they capable of?
Well, you have Dancing Lights, Mage Hand, Minor Illusion, Color Spray, Mirror Image, Suggestion, Major Image, Hallucinatory Terrain, and Polymorph.
Color Spray is flippin' fantastic, especially if you had more than one suits of armor in fairy dragons, because who's not susceptible to Color Spray? Animated objects or armors. So that's just awesome to blind your party and have the animated armor beat the ever-living shit out of the party. And I would also point out too that the metagamer in your game is going to say Golem or something like that to the animated armor. So to be able to throw your players for a loop is always a great thing to happen.
Well, the other thing too is they have cover, so they're casting using these spell abilities from cover, and they're fairy dragons. So let's roll it back a little bit. So more than likely, they're more interested in effing with the party than they are harming the party.
Yes.
Now, if it comes
I mean, it depends on the motivations, but yes.
Well, yeah, but for the most part, I think they're more like pranksters. They're going to want to drive them off. They're going to be more interesting than hurting anybody.
Right.
Now, it could come to that later, and so they could really just hide in these suits of armor and do things, because not all the things that they do are necessarily like line of effects or cones or like that. They're just magical effects that are going to be happening to the party. And, so it might just start off with them like trying to mage hand stuff away from them, or trip them, or, or tweak somebody's nipple, or, just things that the fairy dragons would find funny.
Yeah, and you might hear like reptilian laughter coming from within the suit of armor or something like that.
What exactly does reptilian laughter sound like?
I imagine it to be something like, yeah, exactly. So, and maybe you can put objects inside the armor, like they get a clue that there's something inside suits of armor that they have to find, like a scroll or a piece of a thing. So, like, well, the fairy dragons don't want their nest disturbed, which is what has to happen to make this thing happen. Like, there could be a key or some other doobly-doo in the thing that the party really needs to get to.
Yeah, I feel like it would be it could be a really fun encounter, a really whimsical encounter, but it could also turn dark as well. You could always make dark fairy dragons where they've been tainted by evil.
Change up their spell list a little bit, give them more of an evil bent.
I would, I would still stick with the theme of a fairy dragon, but maybe make it more, like they might have blur or something like that. So maybe, not only are they casting spells, but maybe they're using enhancers on the animated suits of armor.
Yeah, I wonder if so mirror image is typically self, right?
Yeah.
If you flopped it like, they can cast on the suit of armor or something like that.
I'm not even sure I'm going off the top of my head saying blur. That might be the same thing. But, like invisibility or something like that, where they turn the armor invisible. Although I don't know if that would make the fairy dragon invisible.
Yeah, I think it might.
Well, and they also get a breath weapon, too.
So they do have a euphoria breath. The dragon exhales a puff of euphoria gas at one creature within 5 feet of it. The target must succeed on a DC 11 wisdom saving throw, or for 1 minute the target can't take reactions and must roll a D6 at the start of their turn, and craziness happens.
Now, think about this, right? One of the things that could happen is the visor could open up in this cone of
well, they're
gas.
single because it targets one, so it's a little...
Yeah, well, it comes out the visor or whatever. Or what about, the animated suit of armor raises its arm and points at one of the players, and it shoots out of their finger. So again, it would just more or less lend to this idea that the players are facing these suits of armor and not the creature inside of it.
I totally thought you were going more of a Looney Tunes. It goes out the butt flap because it's gas.
Well, I guess you could do that too if you wanted to.
If you wanted to take this in a silly direction.
Well, sometimes you got to go silly.
A euphorically thought in your general direction.
So I was thinking about how you were saying that was how they're like nesting home. What if it was more like like the steel RV? And it's just there's this story that some of the villages talk about a knight that never sleeps, and he always walks around these woods, and there's all this speculation about what he's looking for. He won't talk to people. He's kind of scary and intimidating, so people don't actually interact with him.
Oh, for the solo encounter where it's only one fairy dragon and one pseudo animated art, that would be awesome. Like and I believe they're draconic, so they're probably really long lived. So it could be this whole legend or myth.
Or there could be like this night highwayman who it's just like this night effing with people and seeing what they can get and kind of things like that.
Oh, like
stand and
more the
deliver. Like maybe they do have like this outrageous voice and project it. So it's like an Inigo Montoya like knight sort of figure that's
Give me all of your spoons.
Yeah. Oh, I was also thinking too what we could do with animated armor is just because it's animated armor doesn't necessarily mean it has to look like your typical suit of armor. Like what if it looks like a foo dog or something like that from sort of Asian Asian mythos, and so like it's like a temple guardian of a place that it's an animated suit of armor, but it looks like a robotic dog or
okay.
draconic thing statuary.
Like barding of something rather than
yeah,
with Leo with full face mask of the thing.
Yeah, instead as opposed to a bipedal thing, a quadruped.
Yeah, you could easily reflavor it. Now the only thing is like like the RV, like I don't think you can fit like comfortably a family of fairy dragons into a suit of armor because they're still decent size. It's like 18 inches, right? As I'm gonna say, they're gonna have a wingspan. So I don't think you could like.
We got the legs, the thighs. There's like one fairy dragon a piece, and then like you could have somebody hanging out, 2 people on the chest.
Yeah,
2 people
but
on the
that's
thighs.
like trying to justify putting like 3 of you in a smart car.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable.
I think 3 could.
But it's free. It's
I do
ride.
think like 3 of them could comfortably fit in there, and like I do like the idea of like you kind of hear like if you make good perception checks, like these little conversations that happen inside the suit of armor. Like think of Labyrinth with the goblins like having the discussions with one another.
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, so like you can have that internally because they're like 18 inches long, which I mean, so you could put like 4 of them, like 2 in the chest cavity, like 1 at each of the extremities. You can do a Voltron sort of situation.
Seems a little cramped to me. I wouldn't want to live there.
What if it's like Sir Gregor Gaines armor? That's a lot of fairy
that's a
dragons
little
could
bit
fit in that.
I say 1 no problem. 2 is tight. 3 uncomfortable.
For living space, anyway. Yeah.
But the other thing is you can do if you wanted to stretch this encounter into another direction, you could grab any tiny creature, not just use the fairy dragon. Sprites and pixies, they have spell selections as well that you'd be able to use, and they're also tiny. So
I say, going off of kind of like what you guys were saying, you fill it head to toe with crawling claws. and when you finally defeat it, like it explodes out, and all these crawling claws come flying in your direction.
Yeah. Well, and also too, you could have like just like a couple per round, like just keep pouring out and like harassing the party while
grapple
you're
it
fighting.
to stop it from moving, and like a claw opens the visor and pops out onto your face. I would let go if something like that happened. I'm like, all right, you're ungrappled.
This is like an animated armor pinata. Essentially.
Well, yeah, or like that kind of makes me think too, like the crawling claws, like you close with it and you get within 5 feet and the visor pops open and it
punches you.
It just well, that would be great, but it just vomits basically out the visor all these crawling claws all over you. You think spiders are bad, which you could replace it. Crawling claws, spiders, rats, cranium rats would be perfect. I think they would work really well. You could definitely fit a bunch of those in there.
It's a cranium rat mech.
So what could happen too with it? So this is like a 2-for-1 monster BF here. But so there's like the gauntleted hands, but at a certain point the gauntlets drop, and then like so those are going to just be crawling claws attack you, and then hands keep dropping out of like the sleeves out of the suit of armor as well.
I was waiting for someone to say rocket punch.
Yeah. Crotch rocket, and then the cod piece erupts off.
That's a different show.
Yeah. Again, if you want to
Was
run
that
a silly game.
Many arrows, where he would headbutt people, so instead it would be like many arrows, all the hands flying off.
Many hands.
Yes, many hands.
nice.
What do you guys think? Would you use this silliness in your game? Let us know in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out on nerdarchy.com.
You patronize us a good way over on Patreon.
And you got to hand it to us on Instagram.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.
Happening at this point when we put animated armor is it has the trait of being what is it, false appearance, right? The false appearance
Yes,
trait.
while this armor remains motionless, it is indistinguishable from a normal suit of armor.
So it's just sitting there, and eventually a fairy dragon or 2 like could hit it with its breath weapon that can cause a variety of effects. They have a bunch of once per day spells that they can
Know that all they're gonna know is they're fighting the suit of armor. What is it? Is it undead? Is it a construct? And then all of a sudden it starts blasting them with magical abilities to boot.
Yeah.
So we're gonna stick for this purpose we're gonna put a fairy dragon
Maybe 2
inside, and that's on page 133 of your monster manual.
So apparently fairy dragons do not wear boots. They wear suits of animated armor.
That's right. So we have a monsterception. Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Ryan, and today I'm joined by
Nurka Steve.
Ted.
Nathan Nerdarch.
and Yo Dog. I heard you like monsters, so I took a monster and I put it inside a monster.
Hey guys, jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with us.
Right, Monster BFF, we're bringing it back.
Woot! So,
Cast as well. And I would say, like, you could put one of the 3 of these fairy dragons in there because they are tiny. It depends on the challenge you want to present to your party. But, like, it's a pretty solid challenge to a low-level party with just having 1 fairy dragon and 1 suit of armor. But with the recharge ability, that with the breath weapon, rotating more out, you get to use those abilities more frequently. And they have complete cover from every...
this time we have something pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'd say
Got
so.
The animated armor found on page 19 of your trusty monster manual, and this time we're gonna stick something inside it.
Oh no!
So
So this is a family show.
So this encounter really is kind of about effing with your players, and it's the idea of giving them a monster to fight.
A monster within a monster.
Well, you're going to do that, but up front they're not necessarily going to